Guys, this is Chris with Hit Run Steel. We're really excited to have Steve Springer on with us with Quality at Bats. If you don't follow Steve on Facebook or on his webpage, his Facebook page is Quality at Bats, Quality AT slash Bats. So you can go to his Facebook page. He has a ton of stuff on there about the mental side of hitting, which is his main approach to hitting. There's a lot of guys out there doing swing mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And Steve is kind of at the forefront of talking about the mental game and the mental side of hitting and the approach you should have whenever you go to the plate, in the dugout, before a game, in the on-deck circle. So, again, we're really excited. Steve, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you joining us today with Hit Run Steel.
Chris, great to see you here, buddy. Great to be here. I forgot to put my phone on silent, so I should probably do that, or we'll just deal with it when it comes. Yeah. But hopefully nobody will call. But yeah, it's great to be here, man. I love telling my story. I think everybody has a story, and I just believe that mine is a good story. I mean, for what I'm doing right now, from where I started, it's absolutely mind blowing. I mean, I don't start in high school. I get cut in college. I played in the big leagues, and now I get Major League All-Stars calling me to talk about the mental side of hitting. It's really, really cool.
That is cool. One quick side story with this. Steve and I played against each other. We didn't know each other, but we played against each other way back in 1994. And I was just a young guy. I was 21 years old. I was in AAA, and I thought that I was the best thing walking, which we all did at that time. And Steve was a little older at that time, and I remember facing him in a game. And not to get too deep in it, but I had a runner on first base, and it was kind of a hit and run situation. And I threw a slider, which normally for me would be a ground ball to the shortstop. Well, in this case, Steve shot it the other way in the hole through first and second base. And I distinctly remember it going, man, I've got to change what I'm doing here as a pitcher if I want to deal with these guys that are older and who are better hitters. So I have a real appreciation. It's kind of strange that sticks out the way it did. And now we're here today, 25 years later, talking about hitting. So it's really cool. So I really appreciate it again.
I love that, buddy. I mean, it's amazing what you do remember in baseball. I mean, I played in 1,591 minor league games. I had 1,592 hits. In the minor league. Yeah, I was a legend in the wrong league, AAA. But I spent 11 years in AAA and got 2 hits in each league in the big leagues. But you remember stuff like that. I mean, I had 17 big league at-bats. I could almost tell you pitch to pitch on what happened.
That's cool.
But that's how powerful the mind is, right? It's too many players let their mind get in the way of their ability.
Right.
And this is what I teach right now is how do we get the right guy playing every single day? Because every single player has 2 players in them. Even the pitcher. I had confident Chris, who was a really good pitcher, and I had non-confident Chris, who sucked.
That's right.
Well, you know what? That guy can't pitch anymore. And baseball is set up with so many mental minefields. It's filled with so many, things that I do everything right, and baseball says I suck. I mean, you make the perfect pitch, I get a jam shot for my hit, I feel that I had success, and you feel like you failed. Yet
sure.
My knuckles are still in Toledo.
Sure, of course.
It's amazing how we think. Yeah. So my whole thing is changing what you think success is and getting the right player playing, and then, dude, I got some tree trimming coming out now, so I'm outside, so we're gonna bring this inside.
Cool. That's awesome.
Hold on a second. All right, buddy.
Are we good?
We're good.
All right. So what I wanted to be able to let our folks know who are part of Hit Run Steel is I want to kind of break this up into a couple of different things. And what I want to do is I want to talk, first of all, if you have a son or a daughter and they're a hitter and they are an adolescent hitter, they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish, kind of in that ballpark. What is some advice you could give parents and or kids that are in that development stage of their career as a hitter?
Well, at the 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 and under, it's really development for the kid and the parent, in my opinion. I mean, these parents need to realize that your kid is playing the biggest self-esteem destroying sport in the world, right? Your 7-year-old makes an error, he wants to cry. The other team's cheering, he doesn't like that. Coach is yelling at him, that's usually the dad, and then he's got to ride home with the dad. So for one error, your little 7-year-old's going to get beat up 4 times. And this is why kids quit the game at 13 years old, because of the pressure that's put on them by the one who loves them the most, us parents, and Johnny Testosterone Coach yelling at my 9-year-old. Sure. And this is why kids quit. So, when I speak all over the country, my whole thing is talking to parents, because I don't care who that kid's coach is. The parent is the number one coach for every single kid, because you live with them. And so when you know what we know and what we're teaching, and now all of a sudden he's teaching that to your 7, 8, 9-year-old. I promise you, your 7-year-old wants an ice cream, right? I shot a 2-minute video on why kids quit, this topic right here, on Facebook. And in 3 days, it got viewed 3.4 million times.
Yeah, it's powerful.
I mean, it went Oprah. That's how powerful it is. The relationship with the kid and the parent. We all want our kid to be the next Mike Trout. Well, so did I. But you know what? He's not going to be the next Mike Trout if he quits at 13.
Right.
And this is when the data says that kids quit. And so, as far as the player, man, we got to make it fun, man. I mean, baseball, it already gets a bad label for being boring. Now I can do everything right, and baseball says I suck, and then I do nothing right, and I feel like I suck. And now all of a sudden, it's not fun. And if it's not fun, they're not going to keep playing. Like Rich Amaral and I, who played in the big leagues with the Mariners for 8 years, my best friend, our kids the same age. We live in Huntington Beach, California, and we coached our kids. And we had, we put little Q stickers on the back of their helmet if they had a quality at bat. I mean, these kids are 10, 11, 12, right?
Sure.
And so there was no crying. It wasn't about getting a hit anymore, right? It was about getting that little sticker on the back of their helmet. And we had the biggest spaz in the league on our team. and if this guy fouled the ball off, we made him feel like he was Mike Trout. And his parents loved us, because nobody's ever built their son up in sports. You couldn't, but we did, and it was fun. We won it all. There was no crying, and we have to make it fun at the youth levels, man, or we lose kids.
I think that in my experience, coaching younger kids and having my son come through, who's 16 now, I think we all have a tendency when we start as parents and as coaches, even doing what we did, to really. You want your kid to be good no matter who you are. And then I think you go through a growing process as a parent and as a coach. And when my son was 6, I'd probably hit him 20,000 ground balls already. I mean, something stupid and crazy. And he's playing in a game, and the ground ball goes between his legs and the run scores, and he comes off the field, and I was like, hey, man, what happened? How did you let the ball go through your legs? And he stops, and he looks up at me, and he goes, Dad, I didn't mean to do that. And the light bulb went off. And from that point on, I said, you know what? I'm only going to be positive. That's all I'm going to do. And just tell him how much I enjoyed watching him play the game. Because as you said, it's such a game of failure. When you get to the level that we got to, it's 100% mental. I mean, the physical is already there. So with what you're doing, how do you talked a little bit about making it fun. How do you get the mindset right for a young player? Is it just talking about having a quality at bat, or is there other things that you implement as the kids continue to grow to get them to understand the positive mental approach that I need to be successful at this game?
Well, and I mean, I went 1 for 20, right? So I know what it feels like. I do everything right. Like I said, baseball says I suck. I do nothing right. And baseball says I suck. And now I'm 1 for 20, and too many players like yesterday play today. Right. So my whole thing right now is when I go speak to like high schools, colleges, even pro teams, is I want these kids to play every single day like it's opening day. Right. Nobody in the history of baseball has ever walked up to the plate on opening day with no confidence ever.
Sure.
Because there's no yesterday yet. And then on game number 2, it creeps in when you're 0 for 4, and then you're 0 for 2, and now in your mind you're 0 for 6. And so I'm letting that guy play. And it's yet I got a new game, new pitcher, new hero every single night. I told this to Paul Goldschmidt, one of the best players in the game. A.J. Pollock's, turned him on to me because I've known A.J. Pollock since college, and we talk a couple days a week for the last 7 years. And I told him, I said, buddy, you like opening day? He's like, I love opening day. I said, we're going to have 162 opening days then. And he said, that's freaking brilliant. Yeah, it is. On game number 162, I shot him a text. I said, opening day. He shoots me a text. I love you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well,
so
it's a good mindset to play in,
Yeah.
And see, sometimes we care too much, right? And
Sure.
we care too much. And this is why I talk about playing in I don't give a crap mode about me, because it's not about you. It's about you helping your team. See, this is where we get caught up from a really early age. And it's how did you do? How many hits did you get?
Sure.
instead of, hey, how'd the team do? How many good at bats did you have? And like I said, I always say is too many players let their mind get in the way of their ability instead of help their ability. And so we need to get that right player playing. Everybody thinks they have a 25-man roster, Chris. Trust me, it's a 50.
Sure.
Because everybody's got 2 players in them.
Yeah.
How do we get 25 confident players to show up for one day is what I try to teach.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean,
it is tough because we're stats related. We're, hey, it's all about me. We're in the entitlement era. And I'm telling you right now, when you change what you think success is and you make it about you helping the team and you get the right player playing, I could give you 100 stories of success stories.
Sure. I think, me looking at it as the other side of it being a pitcher, I was fortunate enough to be able to play with Greg Maddux. And so of all the guys I ever played with, he was probably the most mentally tough player that I ever played with, but he made it very simple. And the simplicity of it is that throw the pitch with conviction. Yeah. If you throw the pitch where you want to throw it, you are completely a part of what happens to the hitter. So the hitter may get a hit, he may flare one, he may hit a home run, he may hit a ground ball. You have no control over that. Execute the pitch you want to throw with conviction, and then whatever happens, happens. So conversely, when you take that to a hitter, I think that's probably a little bit about what you're talking about. All I need to do is barrel up the baseball. Whatever happens after that.
Well, if you hit the ball hard, you win. And if you get a hit, it's a bonus. It's attainable goals. It's daily goals. I tell my big league guys and my minor league guys, see if you could line out 5 times. It puts you in a really good mindset, puts you in an aggressive mindset. When I'm trying to drive the ball, now my singles get harder, so they go through when I'm trying to. If you can't drive it, don't swing. Right. And getting back to your Greg Maddux story, because I tell a story every time I speak when I talk pitch, and I heard this story, and I don't know if you've heard it or not, but I think it was the Cubs, and they asked him to speak to the 100 minor league pitchers, and they gave him 30 minutes. He said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And he walks in the room. He says, "Guys, I got 4 houses. I got 6 cars. I do whatever I want to do in life because I command my fastball." He left the room, got in his car, and took off.
It's so true. It's so true.
It's controlling what you can control, Chris. Instead of getting caught up in results, instead of getting caught up in what people think, right? The negative guy. Negative people suck, man. It's just amazing how they let somebody else's thoughts dictate how they feel.
Especially in a dugout. I mean, in a dugout, it happens all the time. Guys coming back going, "I suck. I can't see the ball." Whatever. It's one thing after another, and before long, it creeps into you because you hear it all the time. And those guys are energy suckers. It's just a negative atmosphere to be in.
You're right. And the teams that win, buddy, they get the right guys playing. They get, I spoke at the University of Texas with Augie Garrido in 2012. I never met Augie, and I know Tommy Nicholson, their coach. I was in Austin 2 weeks ago. I don't know how they're doing. I said, "Hey, you want me to talk to your team?" He's like, "Spring, if we go 6-0 the last 2 weeks, we do not make our conference championship." And the top 8 teams went. They came in 9th. He said, "There's no way Augie's going to pay you." I said, "I'll do it for free." So I want to meet Augie. I love right. watching his YouTubes and stuff.
Right.
And so I go in there. He's like, "I'll bring him in." Chris, I could not have spoke better for an hour. I had 16 hitters in the room. I'm about ready to leave, and Tommy's like, "Augie wants to see you again." So I go in there. He's like, "Okay, buddy, we're going to pay you for that. I want you in here next year for 3 days." That's I went awesome. In there the next year for 3 days. The same exact team that just came in 9th place, right, in their division was 1 game away from the national championship the next year with freshmen, and that's it. Nobody else. Same team. But it's changing what you think success is and getting the right player and playing with the 25-man roster and knowing who's going to show up. I'm really good friends with Matt Deggs, the coach at Sam Houston State. Mm-hmm. And this guy's amazing. The culture that he's created in that school, and now it's like super, out on the internet right now.
Right.
And he's changing lives. And this is the whole thing. It's when you try to make better people, is that your number one goal, that you're going to change a kid's life, not on baseball, but in life?
Right.
They become better baseball players.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, if you know someone cares about you as a player, you're going to play harder for that coach. If you truly believe that.
Well, it goes back to players need to know that you care before they care what you know. Yeah. As a coach. And I totally believe that, because as well as I, you play for that coach, that he'll look right through you if you don't get 2 hits.
Sure.
And then if you get 2 hits, he's your best buddy, and they win.
Yeah.
And that guy's not the right guy to play for, man.
No,
it's not the right guy to have in your system.
No, not at all. So let me ask you a question. You're talking about having quality at bats and changing the mindset. When you're a player who is 15, 16, 17, and you have some talent, and as you know, kids are getting recruited at such a young age these days when they're in 8th grade, 9th grade. What can a player do on a day-to-day basis in a game, in a travel baseball game, when there's tons of coaches there watching him play? What can he do to take his focus off, I've got to get hits to show these guys I can play? Which we know that's not the focus. What should their focus be?
Well, it's like I just brushed upon, I believe, and it's playing every day like it's opening day, and playing and I don't give a crap mode about me. I'm playing to win the game. I'm playing to help my team. You get what I'm talking about when you're 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, and you look at the lineup in the 9th inning, and you say, man, I need 2 guys to get on so I can be the hero, instead of, oh, crap, 2 guys get on, I get hit again, because now you're making it about you. See, this is the whole thing. If players want to get better, play to win the game. Play. Your defense gets better. Your base running gets better. You're pulling for your teammates. I mean, there's so much freedom, and it's not about the freedom. It's more fun, when you take it off of you and helping your team. See, I didn't mind being 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts in a game. Obviously, you mind, but I didn't mind as much if we were still in the game and had a chance to win, and I had a chance to be the hero in the 9th. I swear but my first 7 years, it was all about me hitting 300. See, the batting average is the biggest trap in baseball. When you say I don't care what I hit, that's where the freedom starts. So I can't have a goal where I can do everything right, and baseball says I suck. I hit 3 balls right on the screws, right at somebody. I beat the pitcher. The pitcher knows I beat him. The pitcher's mom knows I beat him, and I lose confidence because my batting average went down. It's a trap. This is why first rounders can't get out of A ball, and guys not drafted spend 10 years in the big leagues. Because it's about the mind. It's about what you said. It is like 90% mental. In a baseball is 90% mental, then why do we work on it less than 10% of the time?
Right.
We'll take 2 hours in a cage and take 1,000 swings and 1,000 flips. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a mental game, or if you don't have an approach, you just wasted 2,000 swings.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a question from Sean Lowe. He says, I love quality at bats. I struggle with my daughter accepting my advice. She is a 10U softball catcher, but she shuts me out when I offer advice or correction.
Well, I have that same story. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm with you.
I have the same story. Like when my daughter was 11, I tried giving her a tip, and she's like, Dad, you're not the coach. And I'm like, you're right, honey. Go listen to the plumber.
Right.
So I get it. Teaching your own kids a little bit tough. But you know what? Just like I said, keep it fun, man. And I don't want these kids playing with tension, anxiety, and pressure. Right? I want calmness, toughness, focus, having a little bit of funness, if that's a word. It's one of my go-to lines. If you want to play with tension, anxiety, and pressure, go sign your kid up for the military, because that's where that's at.
Sure.
God bless them. I mean, we're playing baseball, and if baseball and softball is starting to feel like a 3-hour timeout, like you're in trouble, then something's wrong. Something's wrong mentally with either the parent, the coach, or the player.
Right. So taking it on a little bit different tact, when you talk to players, do you talk to players about their approach in the dugout? Do you talk to them about their approach in the on-deck circle? Do you talk to them about the approach before they step in the box? Are there cues, or are there things you ask your guys to look at or be thinking about when they're in those situations?
Absolutely. I believe that hitting is about the mind, the approach, and mechanics, all three important. I used to think they were in that order. I've changed it. I believe it's about the approach, the mind, and mechanics, because I don't care how confident you are or how good your mechanics are. If your approach sucks, you're going to lose your confidence and your mechanics are going to break down. So, I had a guy named Tommy McCraw when I was playing. This guy was a roving mental hitting coach type thing. And every time he was around, I was a stud, but he'd be there for 3 days, a month. And I'd carry it for 3 days, but then because I'm an idiot, I'd forget it. Right. And so as dumb as I was smart enough to realize when that guy was around, I was good. So I brought a tape recorder to his room, and he talked to me about me for 20 minutes. And it changed my life. If I was in my car, I was listening to it. Right. And I remember what he said. He said, spring winds hit and start for you. And I'm like, Tom, when I'm in the on deck circle, I could really see the pitcher. He said, Spring, hitting starts when you pick up the paper in the morning. Nowadays, go online and you see who's pitching. You start visualizing yourself hitting missiles off this guy. See, the mind doesn't know the body's not doing it. If I took half the team and I said, go take batting practice for an hour, and I took the other half and I said, go visualize yourself hitting missiles for 10 minutes, and you ask me who I think is going to have the better game, I'm going to take the guy that never took a bad swing, the guy that visualized. Right. And I think that too many hitters, they try to hit everything. They're not ready for anything. Right. Is it easier to hit one pitch when you know it's coming, or three and you don't?
Right.
Well, until I get 2 strikes, bro, I'm in control in this box. So I tell my guys, you don't have 5 at-bats a day. You got 27 minimum. But 22 of them when your buddies are hitting and you're watching the pitcher and you're seeing what the guy's throwing. Right. If he is getting the 2-0 slider over or the 1-0 slider, is he pitching backwards? Let's say I got a little lefty on the mound throwing 2-1 changeups to my buddy and is successful. And now I come up with the runners on second and third. I've already smoked his fastball. You think I'm seeing a middle and fastball?
Sure.
So all of a sudden I'm going to start sitting on something I'm going to get, not what I want to hit.
Right.
Like how can we could all hit the breaking ball machine in the cage and it turns invisible during the game because we know it's coming in the cage. Well, if I told you here comes a fastball 100% and you can't put a good swing on it, then go play soccer. We got to be able to do that. But sometimes it's okay to sit off speed. And now I'm looking for something we're going to get. Clint Hurdle was one of my mentors. He was an ex-teammate. He was my manager for 2 years, and he said it as good as you could say it. It's really, really hard to hit 94 and 79 at the same time. And why would I want to? I told this to Mark Trumbo. He's like my son. We've been talking since AA. And I said, too many hitters hit like it's a blackjack analogy, right? Too many hitters hit like they got 16 on them 0-0.
Right.
Like you're going to bust. I said, bro, we're splitting aces here. I don't have to swing.
Right.
See, I got it's like lifelines. I get those 2 strikes are lifelines. I don't have to swing. Right. But but too many guys are sitting fastball first pitch and adjusting. And now there's that indecision, man. And
that's a ground ball to shortstop.
There's no doubt, bro. I hear you. I did it 1,000 times. But you know what I'm saying, man?
Sure.
I mean, if you told me here comes a fastball 100%, that's called harder BP. That's all it is.
Right.
But now we're trying to hit the fastball, curveball, slide up, change up 0-0, and hitting gets way harder. And I believe that is the biggest thing on why kids don't have success hitting, because they try to hit everything and they're not ready for anything.
Sure. No, there's no doubt about it. I think when you get in the box, as a pitcher, the conviction pitch is the best pitch. Maddox was one of the few people I was around who used to say, there's no wrong pitch. It's just a pitch in a bad location, or you didn't throw it with conviction. Because if I throw you a fastball down and away on the knees and I'm there and I hit my spot, there's really not a whole lot you can do with it, even if you know it's coming.
You're dead right.
So we as players, if we are convinced in our mind that we're going to have success, I mean, to you, based upon what you're saying, that's more than half the battle, correct?
Absolutely, bud. Absolutely. I mean, as far as hitting, I mean, if I'm sitting on a fastball, man, I'm not, if I can't drive it, I'm not swinging. It's putting stuff in play. I couldn't tell you how many times I'd be sitting fastball early in my career. I'd recognize breaking ball. I've already shifted through my middle and swing, and I just put it in play, and now I'm pissed off, run down the line. And I wasn't even looking for the speed. My production doubled when I started walking up to the plate with confidence. I didn't care what I hit. I started hunting speeds. I would rather get a breaking ball, because a breaking ball is a hittable pitch if it's a strike. It's chasing the breaking ball that gets everybody out. So I'm going to zone up. I'm going to load late. I'm going to look for it. And if he throws me a fastball, I'm going to take it. If you told me that I have a 30% chance to get a fastball, or I'm 100% going to get a breaking ball, which one would I rather hit? I'll take the 100% breaking ball, because I know the speed of it. And now I'm gonna zone up. I'm gonna load late to take a fastball swing on off speed.
So one of the things that I tell kids all the time when I'm around them in a coaching situation, hitters, I always tell them, I'm like, whether it's a coach calling the pitches, which is happening more and more these days, or it's the pitcher calling the pitch, everybody gets in patterns. Everybody gets in patterns. If Steve Springer, if I faced you today, and I never threw changeups to right-handed hitters. I just didn't do it because I didn't trust it would flatten out on me and come back across the plate. So when you're hitting against me, it's either going to be fastball, slider, or curveball. Well, you can usually eliminate one of those breaking balls really quick, because most times I don't have both of them.
Right.
So you can
but
say,
this is why you watch the game, because I got
sure.
to know what you're getting over that day. And it's like I've always said, Chris, video on a pitcher 2 weeks ago is great. Watching every pitch the guy makes tonight is 10 times better.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it, because
and even as a pitcher, I'm sorry, and even as a pitcher for you, if you're not watching hitters when you're not pitching, you're an idiot, because you're gonna pick up some stuff. Does this guy chase? Can you get inside? It's called studying for the test.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually think it's easier for hitters to study pitchers in a game than it is pitchers studying hitters, because you have a bad view as a pitcher of a hitter.
Agree with you.
And, you can see things as you're pitching, but you can tell in a hurry what a pitcher has that day, because I'm not going to have my curveball and my slider. So if I eliminate you've eliminated my changeup as a right-handed hitter. You've eliminated one of my breaking balls. So now you're 50-50. You can sit on one of them, and you're going to get a pitch to hit. Chipper used to say, I get 3 strikes in an at bat. The umpire gets one, the pitcher gets one, and I get one. And when I get mine,
I like that.
I get mine. I can't miss it.
I love that. I truly believe that is the biggest thing on why kids that have ability don't reach their potential, because of their approach.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, I was in Pawtucket, and I remember I was playing. It was around, I don't remember what year it was. It was 96 or 7 or something like that. And I was playing against Pawtucket, and I was with Charlotte, and David Eckstein was playing second base. And I remember, and no disrespect to David Eckstein, but I remember looking at him and going, how in the world is this guy in AAA playing second base? He's 5'8" or whatever he was, just a little guy. He was taking bad swings. People were knocking the bat out of his hand. 13 years later, he's got a 12 or 13-year career in the big leagues.
And 2 World Series rings.
And 2 World Series rings, which to me says nothing but he figured out the mental approach to the game.
Well, he's also one of the best competitors in the world. I mean, sure. If your compete level ever goes below your ability, now you're underachieving, right? I do not believe that David Eckstein is an overachiever. I believe he's a really good player, but it doesn't look like he should be as good as he was.
Sure.
Right, and that's the whole thing. But do you know how many underachievers there are in baseball?
Tons of them. I was one of them.
Well, yeah, guys that played in the big league that were first-round picks that couldn't get there because of the mind, because of the compete. This is all about being a better competitor, Chris, than you are a player. Sure. If your compete level goes below your ability level, now you're underachieving. And I told that to Goldsmith one time. I said, there's 2 things happen if you're not the best competitor on the field. 1, you will have 0 chance of being the best player on the field. And 2, you're cheating your teammates. And he didn't like that, bro. His whole thing is, I'm going to be the best competitor on the field.
Sure.
Right? Look at Nolan Arenado. I played junior football with his dad when I was 8. Nolan is an absolute 100%. There's nobody that's a better competitor than him. And you can say that about a bunch of guys. AJ Pollock, these guys that call me, I tell them the same thing that I tell the dad of a 10-year-old. Right. Be a better competitor than you are a player. I got a new game, new pitcher, new hero tonight. No party yesterday's 0 for 4 could play. Now, you know what can play? If you got 2 hits yesterday. Because I can talk quality at bats till I'm blue in the face, bro. When I get my hit, I feel good. And I don't care if it's a swinging bunt or a blookie over the second baseman's head. I feel good. It's in our DNA, right? Bring that feeling into the next day. Because if I wrote the word confidence on a chalkboard and say what creates it for a hitter, what is considered confidence for a hitter? It's when I get hits. That's the feeling. That's the physical feeling. Bring that guy into the next day. But when you go 0 for 4, no 4, no part of that guy could play. AJ Pollock is a better person than a player. Been talking to him since college, right? We talk 3 days a week. He's like my son. I love him, right? And he goes, I think it was 2 years ago. He shoots me a text. He said, "Spring, it's been a tough 2 weeks, but I will line out 5 times tonight." No, what he said and what he meant are 2 different things. But I called him. I said, AJ, I get what you're saying, bro, but you just told me subconsciously you're still thinking about the last 2 weeks being tough. I said, I got a new game, new pitcher, new hero tonight. No part of the last 2 weeks could play. Oh, yeah, and you're playing another 6 years minimum. And he's like, Spring, you're right. He said, I'll line out 5 times tonight. I'm like, good, do it. I get a text from him after the game. He said, Spring, my bad. I only lined out once. He went 4 for 5 with a bomb and 2 doubles.
Good for him. That's awesome.
Oh, buddy. Just by getting the right guy playing, man.
Yeah. So we have another question. So Sean said, in youth sports, the pitching is so erratic and varies so much. How can a youth player hunt pitches when the pitches vary so much?
Well, I believe that it's depending on what age, and I think you're right. I mean, it's there's a little bit of fear factor in 12U also. Nobody. This is when you know your kid's going to be a player. Sean is the first time he gets drilled by a pitch. I mean, because this is why we're going to watch the Super Bowl on Sunday for two reasons. They couldn't hit a breaking ball, and they were afraid of a baseball when they were 10. Not a linebacker. Like I was 9 years old playing against 12-year-olds. I was really good from the time I was 9 to 12. I didn't grow an inch from the time I was 12 to 15. And when I was 9, I got hit by the hardest throwing 12-year-old maybe in the world named Joe Willett. Nobody knows Joe Willett but me.
Yes, right.
Dude, he hit me right in the back, and my mom's like, "I'm so proud of you, didn't cry." And I'm like, "I couldn't breathe, Mom." Smoked me, right? So there is some erratic in there, but and I believe hopefully at 12 and under, I know they're throwing breaking balls at 12, but hopefully 8, 9, 10, depending on how old your kid is, Sean, that just hunt the fastball. And if he swings at a high pitch, big deal. If your kid's 9 and he has a bad game, I doubt USC's panicking right now. But this as parents, we think, oh man, I got to get a scholarship, and what are they thinking, man? It's like I've always said, I want your kids to play when they're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and not quit before they're 13 years old. So it's making it fun and hunting speeds for me is the key, especially once you get into high school.
Well, and I'll say, from a pitching standpoint, if you get to the point where you're able to hunt speeds and able to do damage hunting speeds, that really gets into a pitcher's head. Because if a pitcher's standing up there and he says, I'm going to throw a curveball, and normally my curveball doesn't get hit, and some guy takes a really good swing on it, hits it hard, you got to pause for a second. And you got to say, okay, what's happening here? What's happening here?
Yeah.
And it can, and the hitter then takes the advantage over the pitcher, because you got to be really mentally tough as a pitcher for that to happen to you, and then for you to rebound and say, oh, forget it, I'm throwing it again. He would, I've got the confidence to throw it again. So I appreciate what I appreciate is hearing the mental side of it from the hitting side. I get a lot of it from the pitching side, but to hear you guys talk about the hitting part of it and to be able to share it with our audience at Hit Run Steal and share it with the audience on youth baseball, youth softball, and on quality at bats is just something to further baseball. And I'm really happy. It makes me happy in my heart that you're doing this and you're helping guys, because no one is doing this other than you. So my hat's off to you.
Well, I appreciate you, bro. There's some guys out there. There's a lot of good mental coaches, but here's one of my line. If we're coaching right now, and if you're not teaching some part of the mental side, you're serving the appetizer and you're skipping the dinner if it's all mechanics, right? In the meat and potatoes is the mind. It's the compete. It's having fun. I mean, it's one of my favorite lines. Is too many players play this game like they're in a 3-hour timeout, like they're in trouble. Nobody's in trouble, man. Let's have some fun, man. Let's get the right player playing and change what you think success is. And if you hit the ball hard, you win. If you get a hit, it's a bonus. And until there's a hard hit contact title in the big leagues, like lining out's going to suck, right? Because they got batting titles for batting average. But just think if there was a hard hit contact title, like I netted more balls than anybody in baseball. And then when you line out and somebody says, way to swing, you'll say, thank you.
Right.
But right now, it's like, yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And believe it or not, I'm trying to help you hit your highest batting average, right? There's not a confident batting average stat and a non-confident batting average stat. It's one stat. It has no brain. It does not care who's showing up. So let's get the right guy playing. So when I was a coach with the Blue Jays the last 8 years, I left them last year, but I was the mental coach, and we had a quality at bat championship. And whoever had the most quality at bats got a little gift card. Right, we had 3 winners per week per team. Whoever had the most quality at bats got a card, and we had one guy go 1 for 20 and he won a card. How's that happen?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is Kevin Pillar. He got 1 hit. He got a bunt down, got a couple guys over because he's a teammate. He got the runner on second, nobody out, got him to third, and he lined out 7 times. And he was 12 for 20 in quality at bats, but he was 1 for 20 in his average. If we would have taken him out of the game, he would have friggin' punched us, right? Sure. Because he was having good at bats. Right. And we had an annual award. Whoever had the most quality at bats got a nice Max Back trophy and a check at the end of the year. And we had a guy that hit 256, and he had the most quality at bats in Double-A, David Cooper. But he had 20 bombs and he had 80 RBIs. Right. And his favorite line, what I teach, is good hitters line out more. Right. Sure. The better who you become, the more lineouts you have. Like you've never seen Goldsmith beat up a trash can. Why? because he knows he could hit. It's that guy that lines out every fourth game. Oh, I'm so unlucky. I'm like, no, you can't hit. Well, Cooper took the same approach into AAA the next year and won a batting title at 365.
Good for him.
So, Chris, it's in closing, get the right player playing every single day. Change what you think success is. It's not about you. It's about you helping your team. And then buy into that. Because when you buy into that, man, there's freedom. Because if you like your abilities and your abilities aren't showing up, it's not your abilities problem. It's what you're thinking, what you think you feel. Now, that sounds like a psychologist. I can't spell psychology. I know it starts with an S, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you. But let's get the mind right, man. I mean, there's too much at stake. Like I want everybody to play at their highest level. I don't want anybody to underachieve. But if that's the case, man, you better get great at learning how to show up in a game where I can do everything right, and baseball says I suck, with the right mentality.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, Steve, we really appreciate you coming on today. Again, I mean, I learned something, and I'm not even playing anymore. So hopefully,
we're all learning.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully, everybody on Hit Run Steal, Quality at Bats, youth softball, and youth baseball enjoyed listening to you speak today. And again, we really appreciate it, and thanks for your time.
Hey, buddy, I appreciate it. Hey, guys, check out my website, qualityatbats.com. Get my CD, my DVD. That's the no-brainer. I have an online academy, qualityatbatsacademy.com. We got over 100 videos and audios. We do interviews like this, and that's going really well. I wrote a book called Springtime. I mean, everything's been, everything we do is to try and help kids and parents basically have fun and get the right player playing. And and there's so many colleges across the country that are looking for kids that get good grades to go play college baseball.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Again, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, Chris. Thanks, babe. See you, babe.
All right.